Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Town Hall meeting and candidate forum with candidates for the election of the 2020-2021 student member of the Board of Education. Please stand as you are able and join me in saying the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Welcome to all of you here and those of you joining us from home. My name is Jeremy Brown, and I serve as the Regional Advisor for the Frederick County Association of Student Councils. This group of student leaders meets regularly throughout the year, advocates for their fellow students, and learns the responsibilities of leadership. This group is also charged by the Board of Education to elect the student member of the board. Tonight we have 5 candidates for consideration by the students of Frederick County. They have been through a paper application process and an approval program. Tonight we begin the public portion of the election, our town hall meeting and candidate forum. After tonight, each school will then have an opportunity to review the speeches, platforms, and candidate question and answers prior to voting. The resumes, questions, answers, as well as the text of this evening's candidates' opening remarks will be available on the FCPS website, fcps.org, under the Board of Education tab. Select student member of the board as the drop-down. Voting for our students will all be held online. Each school has a URL code and a QR code that directs students to the online voting site. You will see this on Channel 18, posters in the school, and throughout social studies classes across the county. The website for voting will be active from January 17th through February 7th. On February 20th, the Frederick County Association of Student Councils will hold their regular General Assembly meeting. At this meeting, representatives from each middle and high school will cast their school's votes for the candidate with the most popular votes from that school. The process is similar to the electoral college system used to elect our president and vice president for the United States. It allows for a more equitable distribution of votes, so each feeder pattern or school has some influence on the outcome regardless of size. This is the process that has been developed to allow over 22,000 students to vote in the selection of their representative to the Board of Education. Now for tonight's activities. We will begin with the town hall portion. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and make their platform position speech. And then we will go to questions from the audience. Anyone who has a question should line up, clearly state their question to one of our screeners, and when it's your turn, you may step up here to the podium, ask any one of the candidates your question, or ask all the candidates your question if you wish. We will alternate the lines of questionnaires, beginning with one on the candidate's right. After the questions from the public, we will move to the forum portion of the evening. Now let's meet the candidates, seated alphabetically. First, we have Ethan Billups, a junior from Urbana High School. Mia Martinez, a junior from Brunswick High School. Tommy Shoup, a junior from Urbana High School. Sam Stars, a sophomore from Oakdale High School. And Sean Whitworth, a sophomore from Catoctin High School. Do any of you have any questions about tonight's process? Okay, so let's begin with our introductory speeches. Mr. Billups?
Good evening. My name is Ethan Billups, and I am a junior at Urbana High School. There are currently 11.9 million citizens unemployed in the U.S., more than Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom combined. I believe our country can turn around these rates, but it will first need to start with preparing the youth for the increasingly changing workforce. I believe Frederick County Public Schools can top this, have addressed and cleaned up a few important topics. I'm running for student member of the board because I want to raise FCPS to a higher standard, enhancing the experience and return on equity for all its students. Let's clean it up. To be more specific, there have been a few pressing concerns on my heart over my many years within FCPS, thus inspiring me to pursue such a distinguished position. I would like to speak to you this evening about the topics of foreign exchange opportunities within our county and student internships. So with that, I would first start by working to revamp FCPS foreign exchange opportunities. Adding international experience to the students of FCPS would be paramount, as this experience will be needed in an increasingly globalized workforce. This should be done by increasing funding as well as increasing promotion to make students aware. Studies show that students in the U.S. are lagging behind those in other countries such as Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom in the subjects of mathematics, science, and reading. This is why it is essential to expose students of Frederick County to educational systems in other countries, thus giving them the opportunity to learn from a completely different perspective. Let's clean it up. Nextly, there should be an increase in the number and variety of student internships made available through FCPS. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, almost 70% of first-time, full-time college students take more than 4 years to complete their bachelor's degree. And as stated by the Washington Post, 73% of students do not find a job within their field of study. How many students do you know wasted money in college? I know plenty. Let's clean it up. As student member of the board, I will propose an increase in internship opportunities by incorporating them into the schedule so that students will be more clear on when, why, and if it is even necessary to go to university. In summation, I believe addressing these important topics will raise Frederick County Public Schools to a higher level, enhancing the experience and return on equity for all students. Between foreign exchange opportunities and student internships, let's clean it up. Thank you.
Ms. Martinez?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mia Martinez. I'm currently a junior at Brunswick High School, and I hope to serve you as the next student member of the Board of Education. When you think of Brunswick, you don't typically consider it a diverse school, but it is in many other realms. Brunswick, with roughly 750 students, may have low racial diversity rates, but when compared to other schools, but it is diverse, both socially and economically. To understand the challenges with our schools, I've connected with students from Frederick High School to Urbana Middle. While I've gained a lot from this process, I know that I still have lots to learn, and it's my hope to build those face-to-face relationships to understand the needs of each school. One thing I've learned is that we live in a world of continuous change. The challenges we faced 5 years ago are drastically different than those we face today. To meet these challenges, we need to be prepared. We face the daunting task of connecting what we learn in the classroom to knowledge needed for us to compete for jobs that do not yet exist. We have not been able to advocate for our own education and balance the rigorous demands on us, affecting our health and wellness. FCPS has fallen behind when it comes to providing the education our students deserve. This means a stronger focus on college and career readiness at the elementary and middle school levels, allowing opportunity for our students to find their path sooner and to understand what kinds of classes they need to succeed. Because of our high expectations as students, it becomes difficult to gain control over our own education. I want to make sure that we get recognized for our hard work by allowing some of those extracurriculars to count for school credit, allowing more space in your schedule to take classes that appeal to you. Between classes and evaluations, our basic health and wellness has taken a hit. The simplicity of getting involved in volunteering has become a chore due to other stresses. We should focus on multifaceted means of communication by building a student-ran wellness committee. We need to make it clear that mental health days are okay. Facilitating each student's individual path of success is a priority, and balance is the answer. We are limited to one voice on the Board of Education, and it would be my priority as SMOB to advocate for the issues that the students face. I hope you're able to look to the future with me by voting Mia Martinez for the student member of the Board of Education. Thank you.
Mr. Shoup?
Good evening, folks. My name is Tommy Shoup. I'd like to start my speech by reading what the Frederick County Public Schools Theory of Action says about its role in our community. Parents choose to send their children to our schools. Businesses and families move to Frederick County because of our schools. I firmly believe that there are two fundamental reasons students, parents, and businesses choose Frederick County: an expectation that our schools will equip Frederick County youth for the future, and an expectation that students will be safe. Every single day, FCPS makes us a promise that our choice to attend these schools will result in a relevant education, an education that develops the skills we will need to succeed in our individual futures. We choose to attend these schools. We move here to attend these schools because we believe that this promise will be kept. Frederick County is the most varied county in the state when it comes to educational needs. While our broad diversity is one of our greatest strengths, that strength comes with certain challenges. Unlike our neighbors, Frederick County does not fit neatly under one umbrella. We are an urban county, we are a suburban county, and we are a rural county. Our classmates will go on to become entrepreneurs, farmers, software designers, police officers, artists, accountants, teachers, musicians, and leaders in career fields that don't even exist yet. Parents have chosen to entrust FCPS with their children. FCPS has a sacred responsibility to ensure that our schools provide a safe and secure environment for learning. I'd like to remind you where student safety sits on the Board of Education's list of strategic goals. Number 9 out of 10. As SMOB, I will personally rewrite these strategic goals to be aligned with the promise FCPS has made to us. But unfortunately, securing student physical safety and mental health is not a simple matter of allocating funds, conducting active shooter drills, or raising awareness about mental health. Those are parts of the solution, but we must also commit to a deep cultural shift among our students, teachers, and administration, a clear commitment to valuing students over scores. If elected as your representative on the school board, I will carry your voice and your expectation that Frederick County will prepare us for our futures and keep us safe while doing so. My name is Tommy Shoup, and I ask for your vote on the student member of Board of Education.
Thank you. Mr. Stars?
Hello, my name is Sam Stars, and I'm a sophomore at Oakdale High School, running for student member of the Board of Education. In my years in FCPS, I participated in a wide variety of activities and extracurriculars. From art showcases to engineering competitions to varsity track, I've experienced much of what Frederick County Public Schools has to offer. In my 10 years in the school system, I've also made one observation. We can do better, and I want to help get us there. Despite FCPS's extensive list of impressive statistics, improvement is possible, and students are dissatisfied. While it's unlikely for the SMOB to implement completely new programs or initiatives, they can influence decision-making within the board. Almost all students want more flexibility in choosing their classes and schedules, minimal regulations on technology usage, and better Wi-Fi. These, to name only a few, are issues I would address on behalf of the student body at board meetings. Then there are larger issues, such as increasing mental health awareness and counseling, reducing our toll in the environment, and increasing safety in schools. These are the chief issues of today and tomorrow. What percentage of teenagers in our county struggle with mental illness? How important is it that FCPS implements environment-friendly policies? How comfortable are students with the security of their schools? These are the questions I would look to you, the students, for answers. I will be your advocate, taking in your concerns, researching their causes and potential solutions, and presenting the best options to the board. Despite major advancements, the county has room to improve in the 3 aforementioned areas. Poor mental health and subsequently mental illness can be extremely detrimental at a critical point in our young lives. Likewise, increasing school security and environmental sustainability is more important now than ever. And a standard-bearing school system like FCPS needs to do more. In conclusion, FCPS can do better. I want to help make it better. Together, we can fight the most pressing issues in our school system. If you would like to support my campaign, ask me questions, or voice your concerns, feel free to email me at starsforsmob@gmail.com, message me on Twitter at starsforsmob, or talk to me whenever you see me. I'm here for you, and together we can make FCPS an even better school system. Thank you.
Mr. Whitworth?
Hi, my name is Sean Whitworth. I am currently a sophomore at Catoctin High School in Dinnermont, Maryland. By far, my favorite part of growing up in a small town is the strong sense of community. Our community promotes safety, opportunity, and a sense of belonging. Shouldn't these same qualities also be important to a positive school environment? Well, today, I'd like to discuss with you how a strengthened sense of community in our schools will improve many of the problems that we face as students. So where do we start? Frederick County consists of about 44,000 students. Most of us are aware that the level of diversity varies from school to school throughout the county. My first priority will be to bridge the ethnic and cultural gap that exists throughout Frederick County. Guys, now more than ever, we must understand and respect each other's differences. Bringing together people of different backgrounds provides new perspectives and can generate ideas that weren't previously considered. Regardless of our backgrounds, the daily challenges that we face as students are the same. Stress and anxiety are at an all-time high. The pressure to succeed academically can be overwhelming. These expectations start as early as elementary school and will carry on into college or employment. I plan to advocate for classes and programs that will focus on effective stress and time management skills. These programs should be available to all students starting at the elementary school level. A sense of belonging is crucial to a strong community. Students who feel like they belong are less likely to engage in negative behaviors, such as bullying, drug use, and self-harm. They are also more academically motivated, and have more self-confidence. Most students struggle socially at some point. It's happened to the best of us. But let's be honest, who wants to go to a school where they don't feel welcome? To help students find their confidence and purpose, I plan to focus on school mentorship programs. Finally, a strong community is built on collaboration, communication, and leadership. As student member of the board, I will proudly be the collective voice of the SCPS student body. I look forward to hearing your ideas and representing your needs. Win or lose, I look forward to working with you, the students, to strengthen our FCPS community. Because without you, there is no community. Thank you all for your time.
And thank you all for those speeches. We'll now move into questions from members of the audience. So if we could have the first question come forward. You don't need that. Yep, right here to the microphone. Just tell us who you are and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Seamus Bissell, and I'd like to ask Sean a question. I saw in today's paper that the FCPS Board of Education is requesting funding for 10 additional positions for mental health support. What steps will you take to better support students suffering from depression, anxiety, and other mental health related problems?
That's a really great question, Seamus. I actually did get to read the paper too. Most people would argue that bringing in more guidance counselors would be a more significant issue. But as this is a good idea, I definitely think that this is an unrealistic thing. As I mentioned in my speech, a lot of students are under pressure from an anxiety from school, grades, and even extracurriculars. So definitely one of my steps would be to implement mental health programs that kind of help students understand the signs and the triggers. As well from this, another step would be to put in, different stress programs and time management classes to help students realize their times and know their balances and their triggers. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm a junior at Tuscarora. So in some schools, arts programs are in danger of being taken away, while sports programs are growing each year. How do you feel about this gap between the arts and sports? And this is to all candidates.
We'll start with Mia this time.
All right, so that's something that really speaks to me. I've always grown up having an artistic background, and I've always taken art classes each year, and those students work just as hard as the athletes, and they deserve to be recognized for all the work that they do. And so taking that funding away is not the solution. I feel that we need to work around it and find other ways to make sure that these programs are still there because students have a passion. They want to do this, and we shouldn't take that away from them.
Mr. Shoup?
I think that school is an incredible place where people of all different interests can get together and actually learn about something they care about. And so I think on the one hand, how it's great that people in sports are getting the opportunity to express themselves through that. I think at the same time, we need to equally value students who are in the arts. And so I think any measure to remove any funding from the arts would I would not agree with in Frederick County. Yeah.
Mr. Stars?
Yeah, I think it's important for the county to be well-rounded in all aspects, artistically, academically, athletically. So to raise funding for athletics and take away funding from the arts, I would completely disagree with. And if I were a member on the board, I would definitely fight back against that idea. Because I do think it's important for the arts to have equal representation as the students of Frederick County who do arts and the students who do athletics. They're equal numbers, so it's important to represent those students as well.
I as well agree. As a student who participates in many different art forms, I do different plays and different instruments. It's definitely a really important thing to a lot of students. And to some students, art can be a form of release of stress. I know a lot of different students use painting or different art as a term to release their stress, which is really big for them. So to take that away would make them more stressed, especially with the amount of grades and extracurricular and stress it is to be in school. So we would definitely have to work to find a way around that so they have equal cost or funding as well as the sports.
Mr. Billups?
I think we definitely need to get rid of the mindset that the arts aren't as important as sports. I think it's completely unfair that funding's being taken away from the arts and being put into sports. If I were a student member of the board, I would definitely work for advocating for students who are involved in the arts, because I feel like it's just as important as the sports. And I would, as for me personally, acting has been a large part of my life. I may not be involved in the arts as much as I have in my younger years. However, I know how much I loved it and how important it was to me, and I want to fight for students that it's important to as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just for those watching at home, there is no current plan by the Board of Education to move funding from sports or to sports from the arts, just to not get everybody out in the public worked up. Next question.
Hello, my name is Melanie Andrew, and I'm a senior at Catoctin High School. I am also the Frederick County Association Student Council's president for this school year. And my question is to all the candidates. Recently, our big goal has to work on student member voting rights. So I wanted to see what your standpoint was on it, and if you think we should have full or partial voting rights.
We'll start with Mr. Shoup this time.
I support full voting rights for the student member of the Board of Education. I think that the student member of the Board of Education might choose to opt out potentially of voting on certain topics, but I think it would be completely detrimental to give the student member of the board partial voting rights in some senses, as if students are less capable somehow of making intelligent decisions. So yeah, full voting rights is my position on that.
Mr. Stars?
I support full voting rights for everything except probably budget policy making, mostly because I think many students can agree that they wouldn't want to be in a position talking about adults' wages and different money allocated towards different things. So that's something that, as student member of the board, I wouldn't want to be in charge of. I don't have that kind of knowledge on that topic, so I would stick with things that I know about, like mental health, school safety, that sort of thing.
Mr. Whitworth?
Before I answer, first of all, a student member of the board voting rights would be an amazing opportunity to have, especially just having the right to vote on the board for our county is an amazing thing. I would go for as well full voting rights because it sticks to our community mainly, and our job is to represent our students, and if there's a voting right that isn't geared towards our students and we're not allowed to vote for it, it's not really participating in our job.
Mr. Billups?
So I'm in favor of partial voting rights for a student member of the board. I think it's imperative that the student member of the board has the right to vote on specific topics that affect all the students, and as a representative of all the students of FCPS, I think it's important that we would be able to have a say in voting. However, as fellow candidate said earlier, I do think that it could pose a problem if the student member of the board voted on the wage, or if faculty members being fired. I think that could cause problems. So I don't think we would want to put any student in that position. However, I do think that it would be imperative to give the student member of the board voting rights. As we've seen, it's been successful in neighboring counties, and I feel that each and every one of us would do a good job in knowing all the information that we need to know to be able to be educated on voting rights.
So ever since I can remember, FCASC has been fighting for student member of the board voting rights. And if it comes down to having no voting rights or full voting rights, I'm willing to take the chance to get partial voting rights. We need something to work with, and that start is great. From there, I think that we should work up to full voting rights, but Frederick County needs to start realistically. We need to start with partial voting rights and then work our way up. Having a student go from no voting rights to full voting rights is a big shock that they can't turn to other student member of the boards who had served previously for advice on. I think it's something that needs to be taken gradually, and that way we can be most successful with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, just to give the public a little knowledge, currently the student member of the board does have a vote. It's recorded but doesn't count. And there's currently legislation that's being considered that would allow the student member to have a partial vote that counts in the actual decision making. Next question.
Hi, I'm Jade Vacuna. I go to Tuscarora High School and I'm a senior. So in Frederick County, we have a good population of English language learners. How do you plan to reach out to those students who don't feel like they have a voice? And how do you make sure that you get those concerns voiced in the Board of Education?
Is this for everyone?
Yeah.
Mr. Stars?
Yeah, so as population increases and patterns of population change, it's important to be constantly looking at those patterns and seeing what are the needs of those students. And if those needs include added support for English learning, then that's something we should address at the board level. And we should provide more funding for teachers to teach them that, and more programs to help them learn. And it's important to hear their voices because they're equally important, just like any student. They're equally important to have their voices heard. And to make sure I hear them, I would be constantly SMOB, going to different events for different schools, speaking out, reaching out to those people, and hearing their concerns and their issues, and then presenting those findings to the board.
Mr. Whitworth?
To reach out to the students, lots of communication, whether it be forms of social media, whether it be whatever, phone calls, group messages, going to events and talking to them, but answering their questions and making them feel included and a part of our county, because all students together make up our community that we need. We need every single one. Everybody serves a purpose for our community.
Mr. Billups?
It's definitely important to make sure we voice the opinions of students of all demographics, whether it be a student from Oakdale, Linganore, Tuscarora, TJ. I think it's important that as student member of the board, we communicate with all the schools, middle school, elementary school even. So as student member of the board, I would make it my priority to go to certain SGA meetings, get the opinions of the students, and as SGA, they have the responsibility of kind of representing their school. So I think it's important that we get each school's opinion. I also feel that it would be important to use the student member of the board social media outlet. I know that there is an Instagram account. I think we should bring more attention to that and allow students to be able to directly contact the student member of the board. And I know that may be going on now. However, I think it's important that we bring more awareness to the social media accounts that the student member of the board has so that students can communicate with the student member of the board.
Thanks for your question, Jade. So I believe that every single student at FCPS deserves to get the high quality education that they need. How is a student supposed to focus on what's going on in history when they can't grasp the language in the first place? We need to focus on focusing on having administration and teachers help these students. And coming from a bilingual household myself, I've been able to see this at a more personal level. And so making sure that these students feel included and that we're not just relying on a simple social media post, we're reaching out to them and actually creating these connections to make sure that they're included and that they have a community to lean back on.
Mr. Shoup?
So Maryland state law and that's the Maryland Bridge Act, I think, and the federal No Child Left Behind Act, they dictated that Frederick County, and Frederick County in return reciprocated with a promise that every single student, regardless of English language learner status, be at an equal achievement level, as in eliminating the achievement gap. And so I think we have, and the reality is that that's not the situation. People who are learning English, they don't score as well on tests as people who already know English on standardized tests. And so I think the number one most important thing would be eliminating that achievement gap. I think if you don't know English in Frederick County, you're going to feel disenfranchised about the whole thing, and you're not, and you're not going to feel like anything that happens in school or anything that happens on the Board of Education really affects you. And so I think my primary response to that would be making sure that eliminating that achievement gap between people who are learning English and people who already know it, and making sure that people are engaged regardless of whether they know English. And I think there are all sorts of outlets to do that. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Alana Gantley, and I'm a junior at Brunswick High School, and my question is for all candidates. What will be your first priority be if elected SMOB?
So we'll start with you this time, Sean.
It's a really great question. One of my first main priorities would be to get to know the different schools and kind of understand their background and what their personality is. And with that, we can use the personalities to kind of bring the schools together and like understand what challenges they're going through, so we can unite our community and make all the students feel together.
Mr. Billups?
For me, I feel my main goal is to encourage career and college readiness. I feel like students now, as from the stats I listed earlier, it's really common for students to go to college and not really be sure of what they want to do, and even if they get a degree in a certain field, it's usually not what they go into with their job. So I feel that it's important that we give students the experience they need with internships. I also feel that it's important that we also try to focus on revamping the foreign exchange programs, as I mentioned earlier, because FCPS can only can offer so much, and I think it's important that students be able to travel outside of even the country and get the perspective of learning from a different environment. So yeah, my two main goals were to be getting students ready for college and to be getting ready for the work field.
Ms. Martinez?
So my top priority would be to give students the control that they deserve over their own education, which this goes hand in hand with health and wellness. If you're able to control your own education, that puts less stress on yourself. Things like abolishing class rank and having extracurriculars count for your class credits allows you to change your schedule in a way that fits for you. And this allows you to take some stress off of your plate and move your schedule around in the way that works for you. And this is what each FCPS student should be doing.
Mr. Shoup?
So my primary, the first thing I would do would be to rewrite the strategic goals that FCPS has laid out to be more in line with actual Frederick County values. Putting safety as the #1 most important thing. Mental health and physical safety is the #1 most important thing for the Board of Education to address. Furthermore, I think Frederick County is operating on a very on a shoestring budget, so to speak, and so I think it's really important that we be practical and realistic about what we're going to do in this position. And so I think, I think I would be very skeptical of any sort of like huge sort of remodeling of Frederick County or anything like that. But yeah, for me it would be a very small but could have a huge impact down the line in rewriting the strategic goals.
Mr. Stars?
To me, and I'm sure many students and parents can agree, safety comes before everything. Before any programs, any initiatives, any even education-based things, safety is first. So safety to me includes mental illness awareness and counsel, as well as school security, and that mental illness can also include bullying, because that's often a cause of mental illness. There are things that happen to teens nowadays that just should not be happening. Anxiety, depression, suicide, unfortunately. You hear about all this kind of stuff in the news, active assailants in schools. That sort of thing should not be happening. So for me, if I'm to be SMOB, the first thing I'm looking to do is I'm trying to increase school safety and increase awareness for mental illness, and also try and improve counseling and help for students that do have it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Val McNeil from Linganore High School, and my question is, what makes you the most qualified to fill this position?
So we're back to starting with you, Mr. Billups.
I think I'm definitely the most qualified to represent the student member of the board, because I feel like in my position, I feel like I'm able to outreach to all the students of FCPS. Like right now, I'm a part of the Student Voices program. You may not know about that. It's a relatively new program for Urbana, I know. It focuses on getting all the students of the county together, and we all talk about the different stigmas within each and one of our high schools. We talk about the different problems we see and how we think the problems should be solved. So from that outlet, I'm able to hear the opinions of all the students. I'm also a captain of the track team, so I'm able to get the opinions from athletes. I'm also an attorney on the mock trial team, so I feel like I'm able to get the opinions from students of all different backgrounds. So I think that's what makes me the most qualified, because it's the most important. The priority of the student member of the board is to represent all the students, and I feel like I can do that the best.
Ms. Martinez?
So I've seen this process for many years now. I've watched it year after year. I've been involved with Frederick County Association of Student Councils since middle school, and I'm on the executive board this year. I'm also on the Maryland Association of Student Councils executive board, and I know how this organization works. I know the problems that we face, and I know how other counties are working to fix them. I know the solutions that other counties may have and how Frederick County can implement them in a way that works for us. So.
Mr. Shoup?
I promise that I will read every single word that the Board of Education publishes. And I know that because I've read almost every single word that FCPS has published on their website. That is my number one priority, is to represent the students in Frederick County, and I think the best qualification I can give you is that I will represent them like they have never been represented before. I will get down and read every single thing that the board publishes, and I will be the most informed person that there is on what's happening in the board room, and yeah.
Mr. Stars?
What makes a successful student member of the board is the accurate representation of his or her constituents, sorry. So as SMOB, I would put away my priorities and my beliefs, and I would focus completely in on the students. I would communicate with and correspond with students from all schools in order to make good decisions for them, because what the SMOB does is completely for the students, and yeah, for the students.
Mr. Whitworth?
So with this position, I feel that I'm most qualified because I have communication. I love to outreach to people. I'm very approachable. I love to be approached, ask questions. And to go with what Ethan said, I'm in a lot of different, many different extracurriculars. I'm in mock trial as well. I'm in the play. I'm in different music organizations, so I can talk and outreach to people of different schools throughout the county through those positions.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nash from Linganore, and do you believe the schools should continue to use the 4-class per semester schedule?
Start with Ms. Martinez this time.
So I believe that this format works super well for students now. I've seen students who have 8 classes all at once for the whole entire year, and I've seen the struggles that they go through having homework from 8 separate classes all in one night. And I feel like having 4 classes broken down is a nice way for students to break up their schedule, yet still get the information that they need. They're able to quickly learn it, and that helps them advance for colleges. And they're also getting the same amount of knowledge, just in a shorter amount of time and a more manageable schedule.
Mr. Shoup?
I think that our schedule is the worst schedule except for all the other ones. And so I think that when you compare our 4 classes, it has tons of pitfalls, like the same monotonous thing every single day. You've homework due the next night. But I think when you compare it to any other potential schedule, I don't think it, I think it looks a lot better, our 4-class per semester. And I think recognizing some of the pitfalls of it and trying to address those, it would be a lot more effective than revamping and adding a new system for this class schedule.
Mr. Stars?
I'm a fan of the 4 per semester class scheduling. I believe the common alternative to that is typically 7 for the whole year, every day. So obviously 4 per semester, that's 8, so you have 1 more class in there, more learning. There's more time for each class, so more engagement. And ultimately, it's not what I think, it's what the students think. So if that were to be an issue the board was talking about and I'm a student member of the board, I would reach out to the students and get their opinion on it and go from there.
Mr. Whitworth?
I absolutely think that the 4 classes are absolutely a lot better. Coming from middle school when there was 7 classes that we had, you had a different amount of homework. You had 7, if you were lucky, 4, but you had 7 different classes of homework due. Whereas in high school you have 4 different classes of homework due, which is a lot less stressful, and you have a lot more time to get it done as well. And there's been a lot of boost in our school, like in my grades because of these 4 classes and the amount of time that we have to get it done.
Mr. Phillips?
So I'm definitely in favor of having 4 classes a day. I think that's really important so that teachers are able to really focus with the students and get all the content that they need to teach. However, I'm a junior at Urbana High School, so I'm just now starting the IB program, and there's the AB day system, and I'm really in favor of that because you have 4th block, that's your elective. You have 3 classes, your 4th block elective, and then the next day you have 3 separate classes and then your 4th block elective. And I really like that because it really gives students more time to relax and more time to focus and study on classes it gives more time to study. It gives more time to focus on classes because the homework won't be due the next day. You'll have essentially 2 days to do the homework, and it just gives more. And also it allows students to compete with the students in other states that may have more than 4 classes. So I think with that, it's not too much in having 7 classes in one day. However, it allows students of Frederick County to compete with those of other states that have more than 4 classes than just one day.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Morgan Miller. I'm a junior from Linganore High School. If elected as SMOB, how do you plan on managing the obligations of your daily life along with holding the big responsibility of being the student member of the board?
I think we're
Addressing all candidates.
up to Tommy. Your turn to start.
Sure. I think that I have enough time as my schedule stands right now to handle the responsibilities of the student member of the Board of Education, but should it require more sacrifice in my time, I think that's something I'm willing to undertake. And so I think the needs of Frederick County students are far more important than the needs of, my own daily life. And so I think, I would absolutely be fine sacrificing my time to manage the student member of the Board of Education position better.
Mr. Stars?
The position of SMOB is something I imagine that is very time-consuming and takes a lot of your effort and attention. So realistically, I'm a busy guy, so I would want my full attention and all my efforts and just giving the best that I can to the students. So I would actually most likely leave some of the extracurriculars I'm involved in, clubs, that sort of thing, in order to give my full attention to the documents I'm reading, the issue I'm researching, and attending the meetings and that sort of thing.
Mr. Whitworth?
Yeah, to add on to what they say, first of all, hi Jordan, nice question. To add on what they say, year-round throughout the school, I'm involved in a lot of different things. So if it would result in having to drop them for this position, that would be my absolute first priority because this position comes before anything else because it's a really big opportunity and it's a commitment that we have. So that would be my main priority.
Mr. Phillips?
This question is really simple. SMOB comes first. Me personally, I'm involved in a lot of extracurriculars. However, I feel they're flexible, and I'll be able to adjust my schedule in advance. And I feel like I'm someone that likes to prepare and be organized, so I can organize my schedule to place all of my extracurriculars after my responsibilities as SMOB.
Ms. Martinez?
Being completely honest, my schedule right now is not that different. I already attend all FCAS executive board meetings and general meetings, and I already attend MASC executive board meetings as well as their statewide conferences. The only addition would be board discussions and board conferences, which would be no problem adding into my schedule. I'd consider myself to be a pretty organized person, and that would be a big priority as student member of the board. So, yeah.
Thank you all. And again, to editorialize a little here and to make your parents rest assured, just so you all know, if you're elected student member of the board, your number one priority is still to be a student and to pass your classes and graduate. So just keep that clear in there. Next question.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Green from Linganore High School, and my question is, what are your accomplishments in leadership prior to becoming a candidate? And this is for everyone.
Sam, I think you're starting this time.
Thank you for the question. I like to think of myself as a great leader. I've had many leadership positions in the past. Going all the way back to middle school, I captained many of my baseball teams, club baseball teams. In 8th grade, I was head of the morning announcements. I was a producer for that. I was in charge of all the operations for the morning announcements. Today, I'm the class president. I was also the class president last year, and I'm also a captain of the varsity track team. So leadership is very important to me, and I think it's one of my strengths, and that's one of the things that I think would make me a great student member of the board.
I agree. Leadership is absolutely important to me. I've had many amazing opportunities where I've been lucky to have opportunities where I've been helping out, or I've been in a leadership position where I've gotten to meet a lot of amazing people and learn a lot from the amazing stuff that we did, whether it be community help or helping our school, helping those in need of a lot of different things. So leadership is absolutely, especially towards this position, important to me.
Mr. Billups?
So for me, just recently I founded a new club. It's called the Art of Policy at Urbana, and I'm the president of that club. And so from that, I'm able to get a lot of leadership experience. I think there's 35 plus members of that club, so I'm able to get a good gauge on what it's like to be a leader. I'm also the captain of the varsity track team, similar to Sam, so I'm able to get leadership experience from that. I also represent the students of Urbana, as I said earlier, with the Student Voices program, and just recently, I was assistant chair for the Model UN conference, so I feel that I have a lot of experience with leadership.
Ms. Martinez?
I'm going to take you way back to elementary school. I was a peer ambassador, and that's where I was really introduced to leadership. And since then, I was a peer ambassador throughout middle school. And that's when I started to get involved with SGA in high school. I was the freshman executive and then the secretary for my school. I am now the chief of staff of Brunswick Student Councils. I'm the legislative affairs coordinator for Frederick County Association of Student Councils. I'm the junior class president, and I'm a publications coordinator for Maryland Association of Student Councils. So I would consider that to be a pretty well-rounded thing, as well as being involved in sports and other things. I was a varsity field hockey captain. So it's a lot.
Mr. Shoup?
So I'll start off. Freshman year, I achieved my Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts, which is a very important leadership honor. I participate in the Maryland National Advocacy Days lobbying program, so I go down to Annapolis and lobby state senators and state representatives about important bills, as well as the National Advocacy Days program, where I where I will be talking to actual congresspeople and representatives. I also, as well as Sam and Ethan, am on varsity track and field, as well as varsity cross country. I'm the head lobbyist for the Maryland Youth in Government program. I participate in volunteering with National Honor Society, National English Honor Society, and National Tech Honor Society, as well as I'm the founder and president of my high school's HSDA program. Yeah.
Thank you. We have one last question from our audience tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Webb, and I'm a senior at Linganore High School. So being student member of the board is definitely a big responsibility and commitment. So what sparked your interest in running for student member of the board in the first place, and why have you decided to pursue it?
You're the first turn to be first? Okay, Sean.
Hi, Emily. I was at an FCAS conference, or one of our FCAS meetings, and Malachi Macon, our current student member of the board, sat at our table and was like explaining his job. And I really was interested in that because I love leadership roles. I love to communicate to people. It's one of my favorite things, which is why I'm really grateful to have joined student government. And he was like, you should join this. And because of him, I'm up here right now. I'd really like to thank him. I know he's not here right now, but it was definitely an amazing leadership role for him to tell me, this is what you should do, and for me to want to step into it, because I definitely look up to him as a student member of the board. He's definitely an amazing student member of the board, and we're fortunate to have him.
Thank you, Sean. Mr. Billups?
So as president of the Art of Policy Club at my high school, one of the big things we talk about are problems we see not just within the county, but within Maryland as a whole. And we also discuss issues we see going on within our schools. And so like my reason for wanting to be a student member of the board is because I want to be able to make the changes that we all talk about with each other. I wanted to actually step forward and try to make those changes happen.
Ms. Martinez?
So I think I knew that I wanted to run for student member of the board in 7th grade. And I said, oh, I'm going to run for SMOB. This is going to be great. And then it kind of went away because I realized that it was a really big position. And then I got involved again with student councils, and I realized how amazing these kids are and how big of problems we actually have. And being introduced to that alone makes you want to make a change. And so having that spark of interest and passion about it really made me want to make a change for it. And student member of the board is a great way to start. So that's why I did it.
Mr. Shoup?
For me, so I moved to Frederick County somewhat recently, and I really fell in love with it here, and I felt nothing but welcome since I moved here. And I expressed this to one of my youth and government mentors, and she informed me about this position, so I sent an email down to Malachi, and I got on a phone call with him, and he started telling me about the SMOB position, and I was just like, wow, this is totally something that I want to do, and yeah, that's...
Mr. Stars?
In 6th grade, I saw an advertisement for the 2016 Student Member of the Board election, and seeing that day, I knew that was something that I wanted to pursue as soon as I could. So today, here I am. I'm a sophomore. It's the earliest I can run for this position, and I'm very grateful to be here. And just going through this whole process, it takes me back to me in 6th grade, thinking of how bad I wanted to represent the Frederick County Public Schools student population. So that's what sparked my interest, and I'm very grateful to be here and be able to give my pitch today.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for those great questions. Candidates, take a quick breath, a little deep breath there, and we're going to move into our forum portion of the evening. For this part of the evening, I'm going to draw questions out of my handy Youth Apprentice mug here, asking each candidate one question, proceeding along the row from my left to your right. Questions have been developed from middle and high school students and discussions across the county over the last year. There are a lot of questions in here. Some of them may be a little repetitive to things you've heard earlier tonight, on questions like funding, schedules, etc. And as we discussed earlier, each of you will have 2 minutes to answer the question. If any of you want to answer another candidate's question, you may certainly do that. You'll have 1 minute, and you can do that twice. So we'll start with Ethan. Okay, what are your thoughts on competency-based education? Is it a good option for students in Frederick County?
I do believe that competency-based education is a good system for Frederick County, as it's good to be able to have students involved in classroom settings where they can be challenged. I feel that if we didn't have a system like this, the students wouldn't be able to be as challenged as much, and I feel like it allows students to be more competitive for when they get to college. They'll be able to be more prepared and more college and career ready.
Okay, anybody else want to take that one? Okay. Mia. Testing. So much time is spent on testing. How can the school system address this challenge and remain accountable?
So standardized testing is something that we unfortunately can't just wipe out and get rid of. It's a way for not only students to be evaluated, but for teachers to be evaluated too. Instead of wiping out this stress, my focus would be to ease out the stress in other parts of students' lives, therefore abolishing things like class rank and being in control of your own schedules.
Okay. Anybody else? Yep, Tommy.
So I think it's important that we continue standardized testing, but I think that we need to realize that students aren't, flat paper people. We're in fact three-dimensional, and so I think it's important that we realize some people can be good at standardized testing, and maybe that's where somebody wants to go in their future, and being an academic is something that interests them. But then for other people, it might be sports or art programs or music or something like that. And so I think keeping standardized testing, but then also allowing students to be not like well-rounded, but good at what they're good at and doing what they love. And yeah.
Okay, thank you. You want to take it too, Sam?
I agree with both candidates in that to completely get rid of standardized testing is just not possible, and it's a good way to evaluate students. But kind of taking a different route and eliminating the stress, I would say first getting rid of the stigma that standardized testing is, the most important thing. You have to get good scores, good grades, that sort of thing. And then also providing more preparation and practice for students that are preparing for that, because for things like the SAT, other than the curriculum itself, all your practice is basically outside of school. It's at home. You're signing up for classes outside of that are completely unrelated to the school. So I think it would be a good step for the county to take steps to provide preparation for students in school and maybe make that a class or something of that sort.
Okay. Anybody else? Tommy, this one's for you. Have you ever had any experiences representing a diverse group of people who are not at all like you?
So, as I mentioned before, I'm the head lobbyist for Youth in Government Maryland, and so within the lobbyist program, there are people from all over the state who have completely different experiences in like their education and what they're taught in school. And so one of the things that I've learned from that already so far is like accepting that people can be different and moving forward from that, and finding what unifies us more than what separates us.
Okay, anybody else want to take that? Mia?
So yes, of course. That's what's so great about this organization. You get to meet new people every single day. And even just throughout my candidacy, I've gotten to know more people just within Brunswick High School who I hadn't known before. And making those connections and realizing that these students have things that they want to be heard is so life-changing, There are different aspects that go about this and different levels, whether it's just within your school on a county-wide level or a statewide level. People think differently. People from different counties live their lives differently, and seeing that in front of you is very different.
Anybody else? Okay, Ethan?
Yes, I'd agree with Mia. Throughout the campaign process, during my high school, I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of students that are very different from me. I've gotten to see their perspective and how they view things differently. I've also, through Model UN, that's a big thing. I feel like Model United Nations in high school, it grasps the attention of a lot of different students from different backgrounds. And I think that's why it's so special. That's why it's so important to me. And so from that, I've also gotten the chance to meet with students of all different sorts of backgrounds and experiences.
Very good. Sam? Next year, FCPS students will be able to work on their associate's degree as a student at FCC while still in high school. What do you think about this program and its merits?
I think most everyone up here with me can agree that that's a great program, and why not? College is expensive, it's stressful, it takes time out of your life. So if we can try and merge high school with college in a way, with partnering with FCC and other colleges, I think that's a great option, and yeah, I'm all for it.
Anybody else? This is your last one. Okay.
It's fine. I'm also a huge fan of the program, but I would like to add that I think we need to be cognizant of its shortcomings, because the reality of FCC classes is that they take up a large portion of a student's schedule. And so I think we need to balance that. Like, sure, students are going to go start working on their associate's degree, but we need to also balance that with the fact that they're going to be out of school for a significant period of time. And so I think fully investing in this program would be great, but at the same time realizing that maybe it's not the option for everybody.
Anybody else? Sean, this one's for you, if I can open it. What will you do new or differently than in the past to better represent the students of Frederick County?
That's a really tough one. In the past, I would say lots of different. I would want to hold meetings, as I said before, different like Snapchat meetings, going to schools, bringing people together of different schools, whether it be a small meeting, whether it be on Skype, Instagram, social media, to kind of have meetings and see what their perspectives are and what their schools are going for. But it wouldn't just be one school, it would necessarily be different middle schools altogether. So maybe Thomas Johnson, Urbana, Thurmont Middle, to see their like perspectives and what their issues are.
Okay. Sam, this is your last one.
Sure.
Okay.
Up until this, probably last year, I had never really seen any presence of the SMOB online, in my school, anything. So honestly, other than finding out who won, after that, I'd never even heard from them. So for me, that's a huge issue. And if I were SMOB, I would make it a point to seek out students, because if we're being realistic, many middle schoolers aren't going to seek you out. You need to seek them out and talk to them. You need to coordinate with their SGA organizers and talk to that school. So if I'm SMOB, I would completely focus my time and my efforts on connecting with the students and seeking them out.
Okay. Mia, this is your last one.
So just in my campaign, I was able to visit a couple different schools and talk to students, SGAs, and I asked them that same exact question. Do you feel connected to past or current student member of the boards? And most of them gave me the answer of, no, we don't really know what they're doing right now. We don't really understand what's going on. Personally, I've seen somewhat of a social media presence, and I've seen some changes being made, but I'm not seeing these face-to-face connections that students need. The student member of the board goes well beyond a simple social media post. They need to make these interactions with students, and they need to know that their opinions are valued. They need to go to these schools and seek out the engagement, because it's hard enough to engage high school students. So how are we going to get to those elementary school students, the middle school students? You know, all of us are up here. It's hard to tell that we are going to make change that will affect us. The changes that we will be making will be affecting these elementary school students. So we need to work with them and see what works best for them.
Anybody else? Okay, next question then. Back to Ethan. Oh, lucky you. What are your thoughts about increasing study abroad or travel opportunities for students in FCPS?
As I think everyone knows at this point, I'm definitely in favor of enhancing and increasing the awareness of students of foreign exchange opportunities within the county. As I said before, it's vital that these students get the chance to experience educational systems in other countries. As I said before, that the industry and the workforce is increasingly getting more and more globalized, and I think it's important that students have this international experience to go along with what's special for their particular county education system.
Gotcha. Mia. What are your views about, I'm not even, we've asked that one. I'm going to use some little editorial, that's about the schedule, the same exact question that was already asked. What is your take on the recycling issues in Frederick County, and what will you do as SMOB to improve recycling in our schools?
So this environmental aspect is extremely important, especially right now and in today's society. I feel like simple solutions are the way to go. We can't go in and install completely new ways for our schools to function, because that costs billions of dollars. But just adding more recycling bins, having committees across the county that report back to schools, things like that. These small things that go adding up and show change.
Okay. Tony, this one's you. Again, this one's already been asked, so I'm going to pass it just in the interest of time to get to a new question. Most seniors only have 1 or 2 courses that are quote-unquote needed their senior year. What options or ideas do you see as the best way to make practical use of a student's senior year time?
I'm going to be one of those students next year who only has 1 or 2 classes that they need to take. But I plan on filling my time personally with just trying out new things. And I think it's a great opportunity for students in preparation for college to try out new things. And I don't mean going to take 8 pottery classes. I mean going to take economic classes and programming classes and stuff like that. And so I think it's a great opportunity for students to go and see what the world has to offer them. And I think FCC is a great opportunity too. If a student really doesn't have that many required classes at their home school or at the school they attend, I think attending FCC is would be a great option for them. Yeah.
So as I said earlier, I think student internships is a big part of the educational experience. I feel like senior year is the perfect time for students to get involved with student internships and be able to get their feet in and dive deep into the workforce. But first, I feel like we need to increase the number and variety of student internships made available through FCPS. Currently, I feel with the internships that I know of, there's SEEP, there's NCI, they all seem STEM related. So not all students are interested in the STEM field, so I feel like it's important that we increase we expand the internship opportunities to not just STEM fields, but other fields like law. Personally for me, I would like that for students interested in politics, for students interested in the arts. No matter what it is, I feel like senior year would be the perfect time for students to dive deep into these internships.
Thank you. Samuel, what would you do to improve or change the school lunch program? Wondered when we get that question.
That's a good question. Personally, I'm happy with how at least Oakdale's current lunch system is. I've heard many students show enthusiasm for the combined lunches idea where everyone goes to lunch at the same time and you can basically go wherever you want. To my understanding, this is how it works. You can go wherever you want. That's also when clubs will take place. You can eat on the stairs, eat in the cafeteria, eat in the classroom, talk to a teacher, do whatever you want, and then that period is extended from the normal lunch by about 30 minutes, so it's probably an hour or so period. And I would be interested in looking into that possibility and researching its pros, researching its cons to make a good decision, as well as seeing what the students want, what their view on the topic is. So, yeah.
Okay, very good. This is going to be our last one for this category. This is about voting rights. You've already answered that, so we've already answered that one as well. The former town hall people did. Okay, this is a new one. We talked about the topic, but mental health is being discussed more and more in our society openly. What role do you specifically see that the school system should play in addressing this need?
Mental health definitely in Frederick County is definitely an increasing matter that definitely needs to be covered. As a student who has anxiety myself, it's a very hard thing to do, especially with the grades, school extracurricular. So definitely implementing time management, stress management classes to help students feel not like alone, because definitely it's a very hard thing to go through, especially as a student who does a lot, and to those students who also do a lot, to kind of give them an understanding that they're not alone and that there's different ways to cope with it would definitely be a really amazing opportunity.
Thank you very much. So that will close out that part. Thank you all for being honest and giving thoughtful answers to tonight's questions. Thank you also to the students who joined us to ask questions ahead of time. I'm looking forward to speaking with a lot of you on following up on some topics to make sure you get some good information on them. We're now going to end with our closing statements from each of you. Reminder, you each have 1 minute for your statement, and we'll again start with Mr. Billups. Ethan.
First, I would like to thank everyone in attendance and all those who are watching live. Your dedication to FCPS is what makes this school system what it is today. However, with that said, there is still room for improvement within FCPS. As student member of the board, I want to help raise FCPS to a higher standard by enhancing the experience and return on equity for all its students, all its 44,000 students. This can be done so by revamping foreign exchange opportunities, as I've spoken about today, and encouraging the implementation of student internships into student schedules. But most importantly, I would like to be given the opportunity to represent students of all demographics in FCPS. It's imperative that all students feel their voices being heard, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or economic status. And as student member of the board, I will make it my main priority to voice the opinions of you, the students. So, with that said, in order to do this, I will need the support of you all, the students. So please vote for me, Ethan Billups, as your next student member of the Board of Education. Between foreign exchange opportunities, student internships, and voicing the opinions of all students, let's clean it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
I wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight. Being a student alone and coming out on a Thursday night at 6 o'clock to watch a couple students speak about important issues shows alone that you want change, and I hear you. I hope that you all had something to take away from this. You got a new stance or something that you're able to bring back to your own schools. And I really hope that you're able to spread the word about student member of the board and get all your friends to vote. And I hope you're able to vote for me for next year's student member of the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shoup.
I'd also like to thank everybody for coming out. That shows a lot of dedication, and it shows that you really care about the county. I'd like to remind everybody that we choose Frederick County schools. No matter how it seems, we choose these schools, and I would like to represent you, since we have chosen these schools, to upholding FCPS's promises that they have made to us. I would like to further encourage FCPS's promise to the Maryland Bridge Act and the federal No Child Left Behind Act in limiting the achievement gap between students with special education needs, students who receive free and reduced meals, and English language learners. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stars?
Thank you to everyone who came today and is watching live. Like I said before, I remember in 6th grade seeing the advertisement for the 2016 student member of the board election and thinking, I want to do this. So it's pretty cool for me now to be able to be up here and give my pitch for why I think I should be SMOB. So thank you. Now I've just got to win. To retouch on my platform, while my biggest concerns are invested in mental health awareness, increased environmental sustainability, and school security, my ultimate priority as SMOB would be the accurate representation of the student body. To stay in touch with the mood and concerns of the student body, I will do everything I can. Social media, email, attending events at other schools, everything. I will make sure everyone's voice is heard so that I can go into each and every board meeting with the utmost confidence that I'm accurately representing the ideas of my fellow students. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here, and vote Sam Stars.
Thank you, Sam. Mr. Whitworth.
I'd like to start by thanking you all for attending tonight. A special thanks to the Board of Education for giving us this amazing opportunity, and to all the people in our community that helped take the time to help me with my platform, a platform that I truly believe in. By definition, a community is a setting made up of people with shared values who come together for a common purpose. Students that attend schools with a strong sense of community perform better academically, have less behavioral issues, and have a stronger sense of involvement. However, a true community only exists if we work together in a meaningful way. We need to realize that our similarities outweigh our differences, and that our differences make us collectively stronger. We need to push for programs that will build our self-confidence and teach us how to succeed in an increasingly stressful world. We need to celebrate each other's successes and also hold ourselves accountable. Rather than pointing fingers, we need to learn from our mistakes and move forward together. The power to strengthen our school community is in our hands, and we should not underestimate ourselves. As student member of the board, I will proudly be the collective voice of the SCPS student body, but I can't do it alone. In the words of the late Henry Ford, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Thank you all.
And thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight or for tuning into our broadcast. This broadcast will be repeated again on Channel 18 in the future and can be found on the FCPS website late next week. The platform speeches will also be included on the website as well. Again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you all for your support of student leadership and development in Frederick County. And I encourage you to attend an FCPS event somewhere near you soon. And good luck to all our students as they go through the process. Good night.